that you still have voters. By the way, I meant to ask you this. Are you do you know this Charlamagne the God?
Yeah.
I saw, did you see him? I guess he was on Joy Reid and he was bashing Biden. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, like it's
What do you think of him? Because I don't know a whole bunch about him.
yeah,
I mean, I know of him.
he's an opportunist, right? So he has a new political podcast that he created with Angela Rye.
Mhm.
She's a political pundit. She's been on MSNBC, and
So she knows her stuff.
yeah, she does. And Gilliam.
Oh yeah, I saw that. That's
Right.
one of the clips I saw. Yeah,
Right. So
Andrew Gillum, who was, by the way, he ran against Ron DeSantis here in Florida and barely lost to him the first time.
Right, but Charlamagne does that two-faced thing, right? It's like, I don't know what to tell my viewers about Biden, because I'm not thrilled about him. I don't know if I vote for him again. But if you vote for Trump, democracy may be lost. So you're talking out of both sides of your face, and it's hard for your viewers or your listeners to discern what they should do, because because what you just said is don't do anything.
Yeah.
Don't vote at all. Because if you're saying you vote for Trump, there's loss of democracy. Biden, I don't like him. I don't know if I'll vote. Like, what are you saying to them? So, like, he does that. He does that play thing. Like, I understand, because I know the purpose of the podcast is to push Democrats, that's the Biden administration, that's all the administration, to talk and do more for the Black community.
Yeah.
And it needs to be done. Like, it just does, right? Like, we hear about the Black community with the Democrats when it's election time. That is the truth, right? Yeah. Like, you really need to go into those communities and talk to those communities more, because you talk to all the other communities, you go into the suburbs. But Charlamagne, like, he does that thing. That's what bothers me, because I feel like he's an opportunist, and he does it on purpose because he wants to keep his listeners. He wants people on that podcast. He started talking this stuff specifically so he can get onto Joy Reid and onto all the other news shows so he could promote his podcast. That's what he's doing right now. Yeah. That's why he started saying what he was saying, because he wants his name out there so people he just started that podcast. So he's an opportunist. That's what it is.
And that's kind of a shame, because I know he's influential in somewhere he's influential. He hosted The Daily Show. He was one of the guest hosts on The Daily Show.
Breakfast Club, like, that's a
correct.
Huge New York. That's huge.
You talk about influential. I mean, you go on that show if you're running for or any high office. You were on The Breakfast Club.
Kamala went on there.
Yes, Hillary was on there, and Joe Biden was on there.
You hear the second interview with Kamala? Because the first interview they had,
it was contentious a little bit, wasn't it?
Right, because she had to say, "Come on, Charlamagne, don't say that," because I forgot what he tried to put on her. Maybe, I don't know if it was like the Black men not going out to Black men, and she had to be like, whoa.
Was it maybe the California, when she was a prosecutor in California thing?
I don't know if that was the most recent one, but I think he did talk about that before. But she was on there because she's talked about smoking weed on Breakfast Club, and Republicans flipped their lid about it. But see him, and he would talk that same stuff about Stacey Abrams too. So it's dangerous.
And see, that's I see, this is what really irritates me, whether it's somebody like him or Joe Rogan or all these guys who want to pretend like they're taking a stance, but they're kind of dancing the line, and they're kind of, but they have millions of listeners. They've got millions of people listening to them. And to me, this is not something to fuck around with. If you have a stance, fucking take it and understand what your stance is and why you have it. But to dance around it.
Daughters. Charlamagne has 2 or 3 daughters. So for him to be talking about, I don't know if I'm gonna vote, you gotta be out of your mind, and you have daughters. How can you play with that? Listen, I don't care. Like, who cares about your job and your listeners when your daughters will not have but you know what? He's got money. So it doesn't matter to people with money.
Well, you just said it. I mean, you said who cares, but they do care when it makes see, and that's the shame of money, is that when it makes you more money, you can go against your interests sometimes if it makes you more money, or you can dance around something that's serious and not even understand how serious it is. You might even still think you're doing the right thing. But I don't know. That bothers me with a lot of these guys who have such influence on a lot of people, and they are misdirecting and misleading. Now, if you had a valid point on something, I'm listening all day. I'll also say too, I'm not a big fan, whether it's Charlamagne or anybody else, like the progressives, that if you have a stance right now is probably not the best time to take it. And I'm not never saying to never back down, and I'm never going to tell anybody to go against, and to change your views or whatever the case is. But we have two choices right now. And one is a guy that is going to not possibly, this party will allow you to advance your what you're looking for, as opposed to a guy who wants nothing to do with you advancing at all. In fact, probably wants you to go back, quite some time.
We'll start to fire anyone they suspect is not a Republican that works for the government. We've already talked about this. He said that he is going to do that.
Yeah.
I think DeSantis has done that in his state.
He definitely already has. Yeah. And, it's just, it's a clown show that, you're asking for something that I promise you at some point you're going to regret. So I think, let's get through this game maybe, and then we can have our press conference on what we think should happen.
Okay, sorry, my battery was.
Oh, that's all right.
It was not plugged in.
Okay. But yeah, I was saying let's get through the game first, and then we can have a press conference based on what we think should happen. Let's not have the press conference now and say everything sucks and this sucks. Let's win the game first.
Agree.
Does that sound fair?
Yeah.
Okay.